What is good, Counter-Strike fans? Welcome to my sixth episode of my HLTV fantasy. Today we're going to talk about the playoffs for PGL Cluj-Napoca 2025. Before we get started, please make sure to like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. Getting this out before the event starts, still a little bit sick, so hopefully it doesn't affect my thinking. But yeah, let's take a look at how we did during the group stage for this event. And this is the lineup I went with. And we did get a top 20. So we did get 12 points added into our spring season 2025 standings. Um, Kind of disappointed with Body. It looked like they had the final 2-2 matchup against Saw, and I thought they were going to win that. Unfortunately, they lost and Saw got through. But yeah, kind of disappointed in Body. I think I could have chickened him out I believe in one of the last two games where he got like a negative 20 points, so I could have done a little bit better then. Um, yeah, in general, it was okay. Not the worst, not the best, but solid enough. Um, Actually, the interesting part about this event was that if you take a look at the standings, some of the best teams actually had Imperial female players. They loaded up on basically the both face gold players, Elite and Frozen, and they got like Blitz and Sensu who did pretty well as well. So a lot of the top teams had Imperial females. So very interesting. It could have been possible to, you know, as you can see, do really good in this fantasy with female Imperial female players. But it seems like they won't be in another one of these fantasies for a while now because I think they lost ranking, so I don't think they'll be invited to much more tier one events, which is unfortunate. But I mean, they didn't perform, so hopefully they can grind their way up back again to the tier one. But yeah, let's take a look at the best value players. And you already got a little sneak peek, but it was basically these four. These four were amazing. If you had these four, basically you won the whole event. I mean, Frozen, FaZe, and Mongols were really good. They went 3-0. So you can see with three FaZe players, three Mongols players, and then you had Nico and Voxic as well. So if I would have gone maybe with the Voxic line as I mentioned, I could have done much better, but it is what it is. Now we're gonna take a look at the bracket and how it looks like. But just before we get into that, just making sure that we take a note that there's actually a third place decider in this event, so it will be included into the grand final. I'm not sure if the grand final is worth 1.5x multiplier. I don't think it is for this event. I think if in the future if there's gonna be third place deciders, I think they should add a again like a 1.5 multiplier for the grand final just because there's more maps. There's a higher likelihood that there's not really a pop off performance. Like the more maps you have, the more they go back to the average. Like the players go back to their average rather than having like a 1.6. They could go back to like a more average rating, what they usually average around. So yeah, I think maybe even the third place decided team could be even better than the grand final team for this event. So take note into that. HLTV for the future, you should add like a 1.5 multiplier for anyone that actually made the finals. But yeah, let's take a look at the bracket. This is how the bracket looks. Um, Quite a bit of interesting matchups. But as you can see, there'll be a third place decider match which will be included in that final round for fantasy. But we have Pain versus Mouse. Um, this matchup is very interesting. I think this is Pain's first time in an arena. Don't quote me on that, but I think for sure first time in an arena against a tier one team. So in front of live crowds, could be interesting how they deal with that. I haven't been as impressed with them. I mean, they had that Blast Bounty run where they looked really amazing, and then all of a sudden they just fell off the cliff. And they're going against Mouse, who they have Brolin as IGL. They brought in Spinks. Spinks looks really good. I can admit to that. Like Spinks looks solid. He's gonna do his thing. There's no worry if he has an IGL or not. And Mouse looked okay. They looked decent. Um, Once they faced the actual good teams, they kind of struggled, but they got through like basically all the mid tier one teams, so they did fine. I'm gonna lean more towards Mouse, but I could see Pain winning this as well. Um, it's a group stage. Mouse suck at group stages. Maybe they without Sushi they become better at group stages. I'm not sure. I mean, I don't think Sushi was the problem, but I'm gonna lean Mouse just because they have just a little bit more firepower. Um, they kind of are going through like a honeymoon phase, kind of. I mean, they still haven't turned on their IGL yet, so I'm gonna go with Mouse winning this. Mongols Astralis. Need I say more? Astralis just lost today against Heroic. Um, Mongols look good. They look solid. I think Mongols are one of the favorites for this event to win the whole thing. So I'm gonna go Mongols going through easily. Falcons Eternal Fire. This one I'm think is the closest matchup. Um, I do believe in Eternal Fire, but Falcons, they have Nico and they have Tessus in form. You know, Eternal Fires are sometimes when they're the favorites, they sometimes struggle. It's better when they are underdogs, I think. So maybe that could be a problem for them, but I'm still gonna back Eternal Fire. I think I'm gonna back what I've been seeing from them the whole year. And Falcons again are gonna struggle. I mean, I don't know. I think it's a 50-50, but I will lean more towards Eternal Fire, especially because if it was Falcons against FaZe in this bracket, it'd be FaZe all the way through. But I guess at least with Eternal Fire, they have a chance. Eternal Fire has a chance of beating FaZe. I mean, they had a really close matchup during the group stage, so we'll see. So I'm gonna lean Eternal Fire for this matchup, and then FaZe versus Saw. 100% it's gonna be FaZe. I mean, this is the matchup that they can like basically get all the points basically that they need for this event. So picking FaZe players are probably the way to go, especially because it's such an easy matchup against who's already kicked out 2 players, but they're still in the team for this match. So we'll see. But FaZe should go through easily. Then we have Mouse versus Mongols. I'm gonna go with Mongols again. I think this one might be a little step too far. I think we saw that Mouse, well, they do look good and they have a lot of players that can pop off like Spinks, Surgeon, Torshi, Jim Hat. You know, they're still gonna need to go against Mongols who just look like the perfect team right now. Like I'm really rooting for Mongols in this event. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Mongols beating Mouse. And then Eternal Fire versus FaZe. Again, this is the more closer matchup, I guess, out of the semifinals that I have. I'm gonna go with FaZe just because they beat Eternal Fire recently, and I don't see Eternal Fire making this grand final. And I think FaZe are gonna want to win this, especially because they want to show like quick results with this lineup. So I'm gonna lean FaZe. I think Elite can match Centaurus. I think that in itself, Elite can like match Centaurus like aggressiveness, and that will kind of like Eternal Fire will need to find another way to beat FaZe, and I don't see Woxic or Wakadia or Jota kind of stepping up, especially when FaZe have better players in general. So yeah, I'm gonna go with FaZe making the final. So that will give us a grand final of Mongols versus FaZe, and the third place decided of Mouse versus Eternal Fire. Real quickly around here, I'm gonna go Eternal Fire. I believe they played each other in the group stage, and Eternal Fire won that quite easily as well. So I'm gonna go with Eternal Fire. I think Mouse again don't perform well in arena. New lineup. I think they're kind of going into this event kind of like there's no problem if they go out. There's still such a new lineup. They're still working on things. So I don't see them performing to their best. I don't think there's like that need, but Terrifier after losing against it, after losing against FaZe, they definitely want to win a third place decider match. So yeah, I'm going Terrifier here. And for the grand final, best of 5, FaZe versus Mongols. I'm gonna go for FaZe. I think they played the better teams in the group stage. They look comfortable in the group stage as well. Kerrigan will be able to call a good grand final. And Mongols, unfortunately for them, they'll have to wait for their real, true tier 1 event win. So this is how I think the bracket will go. Now let's take a look at the most picked players, and you can see we have all the FaZe players up here with Kerrigan being chosen about, I believe, more than 60% of the time, which is pretty crazy. But yeah, all FaZe players are here, so FaZe are heavy favorites for this event. I agree because they do have the easiest matchup in the first round, so they could just farm that, and then if they were to lose that second round, they still make it to the third place decider. So I don't think there's a bad reason to go without FaZe. And then we have a couple Mongols, which is the two cheapest, which is Techno and Messinho. Techno being chosen again almost 50% of the time. And then we have a major left over. So a lot of FaZe love, a couple Mongols, and Eternal Fire. So now we can take a look at the players. And let's take a look at Eternal Fire. Eternal Fire comes in at some reasonable prices. Major of 184 is not bad. If you want to be your cheap bid player, I don't mind that. I don't see him going crazy in any of the games, so he's probably gonna give you primarily negative ratings, and then you just hope for boosters and his eco-friendly or support role to like trigger, so you can kind of get like a couple good points there. But yeah, major 184 is not bad. Santar's at 225. I think it's a little bit much. I think he's the highest price player in the game for this fantasy at 225, with them not having a high likelihood of making it to the finals, especially because they have Falcons, which is the most 50-50 matchup. I wouldn't go there. Woxic at 209 is not bad. He has shown the last two events that he can outperform Centaurus or for his price as well. So I don't mind Woxic as well. Wakeda at 205, he kind of burned me. He's kind of been going a little bit downhill as so far. And I think I like Jota more at 198. Finally, we get Jota at a reasonable price at 198, so I like that. Wikidia probably just find the extra money for Woxic in that place. So my three favorite options would be Jota, Woxic, and Major. FaZe. This event, I think having two FaZe players is kind of a must. I think they have an easy first matchup. If they get knocked out in the semifinals, they get to play a third place match, so no worries there. That first matchup is so easy that they'll be able to farm that and get a lot of points there. Kerrigan at 182, I think he'd be worth it. I kind of fade Kerrigan, but I think facing Saw, he could get a higher rating than a 1.0 pretty easily. And they have a history of facing Saw. I think they face each other in the group stage actually, and they FaZe beat them pretty easily. So Kerrigan, I don't mind at 182. Rain at 204, it's not bad. But I think I'll find the money for Brokey, who Brokey at 207. He can do really good. He has the upside of Frozen and Leech. You know, he can definitely get a 1.2 rating easily. He's so inconsistent that you never know. But I think I'll take the gamble on him, then rather than paying for Frozen and Leech at 218 and 216. I think they're a little bit much. I don't think they'll be worth it at those prices, especially when you can get like Brokey a little bit cheaper, and he has kind of the same upside as them. I would lean more towards Frozen. If I were to just lean towards Frozen a little bit more. But yeah, my favorite options would be Kerrigan for sure. I think you need to have Kerrigan. I think just so you can have better players around him. I like Brookie as my second. I don't mind Rain, and if you want to go with one of these two, go ahead. But me personally, I'm gonna skip on them. Mongols. Mongols could be. I think they have the highest likelihood of making the grand final. I think Astralis will be an easy matchup for them, and then whoever they have to face between Pain and Mouse, Mongols should get through around them. Um, I think the one person you should avoid is 910. 217, that's a little bit much. Again, I'm a little disappointed at him from the previous matchup. I think he has a great role on main upper, which will actually trigger giving me 5 points every single game that they played. But I think we saw that Sensu looks good to go now. I think he seems like his hand is not hampering his performances. So Sensu I like at 215. And then I really like Blitz as well. I think Blitz is kind of underrated. Usually they talk about Sensu in 910 and Messinho, but Blitz as the IGL, he has a lot of good roles. He has a lot of good positions in CT and T side. And I think he puts solid performances. Like he's not really one to like. Usually like a lot of them like deviate and like kind of struggle, but it's kind of like that solid player that he's what he's gonna put up. So he doesn't really have the upside as Sensu and Messinho and 910, but he doesn't have the downside as well. So he's solid. And Techno 196, he could do good. I mean, he did okay in this event. He's just solid. I think he's just 196. So my favorite options for this, I think I like all four of these options: Blitz, Techno, Sensu, and Messinho, and I will avoid 910 just because it's a little bit too expensive. Yeah. For Mouse interesting in the fact that they could be Pain and then they get a third place matchup if they were to lose against Mongols. But the prices are iffy for some. I think Spinks at 215 will not go here. He's been doing good, but individually, but you gotta look at the team as a whole. And I think at 215 you can better invest this in Mongols, FaZe, Eternal Fire. Torchi as well, too expensive at 212, and Sershin at 2.8 as well. We've seen that Sershin kind of struggles in these arenas events. He doesn't do the same thing as he does in non-arena matches. The two that I would be interested in will be Brolin and Jim Hat. Brolin, if you want a cheap player to round out your options, Brolin's not the worst at 193. But I seen his ratings for the previous few matches, and I think IGL is kind of hampering his individual performance, so might skipped on him. But Jim had a 203. He's gonna be solid. He's an anchor. He has anchor position, so usually he performs better. I would say, like performs better than his teammates when it comes to facing higher opposition. At 203 is not the worst. He has upside as well that a lot of players around this price don't. We've seen what he can do when he's on. So J-Pan I like at 203. That's the only one I would go for Fit Mouse. I wouldn't go double up on Mouse. Astralis, man, I don't know. The heroic result does not look good for them. This roster will think might make changes soon. For sure, I would say avoid Device 220 too much. Kaden as well 177 I would avoid. He's been putting up 0.8. He's just not looking good. He's basically buying SMGs every round and he's basically dying first, so he has no opportunity to even give you like positive points, and he's gonna hurt you more than he's gonna help you out. The only players I would go for this is maybe Stom. Stom at 200,000 is okay. If you think Astralis can somehow be Mongols, he'd probably be part of that reason why. And then Stom, Javi, and Stair are all around the same, the same, the same, same thought. You know, probably lean more towards Stom if out of the three of them, because he's had the better roles and he has more of a chance to have higher ratings than the three of them. But in general, Astralis, I would say no go. Falcons is interesting. They're very interesting. Nico at 225, too much. They're probably not gonna make the grand finals, and if they might not even win their first matchup, to be honest. But at 225, it's a little too much, I guess, for Nico. Kixan, I don't mind at 180. If you wanted to go use him as your cheapie, I believe he's the second lowest. Yes, second lowest value player, other than the soft players. But he has at least a chance of winning his first matchup and at least making it to the third place decider match. I don't mind Kixan. Magic's, I wouldn't go here. He's just been so poor. Like, he just gets 1.0 ratings, 1.01. It's his upside, honestly. He's been kind of poor for a little while. The ones I'm more interested in is Texas and Dexter. Texas has been able to almost match Nico. He's been on the greatest form of his life. Again, it is the band as well, putting 1.18, I believe. So Texas is interesting. Dexter, just because he has op and he likes playing in these arena match and like these in front of the crowd. So if you want to go Falcons, Texas, Dexter, and Kicks are the options I would go with. Pain, man, they look so good at Blast, Bounty, and then they look so poor ever since. Just to get this out of the way, Kawis, no go. I think he's just been really poor. I think if you wanted to go here, Bigosera is not bad at 184. We've seen what he can do. He's probably the best fragging IGL out of the leftover ones. Maybe other than Blitz. But Blitz is like silver and Bigosera is a bronze player. But yeah, 184, not it. I mean, he could be an option actually. Sorry, not. He could be an option for sure. Kawis, no option. Snow, he's okay. I think I'd rather go Bigosera. And then if you wanted to pay up a little bit, David Deos is the one to go with. I mean, he was a gold literally like a couple events ago, and now he's a silver and leaning more towards being a bronze. So David Deos has the upside. NQC a little bit too much at 206, but he's been more consistent as of recent. But yeah, Bigosera, David Deos if you want to go with Pain. Other than that, again, kind of tough going with them. Saw, no go. Don't go here. Alright, so with that out of the way, I think for sure what your strategy should be is having at least 2 FaZe players and then having at least 1 Eternal Fire, 1 Mongols player, and then this is the type of event that you can go with a 2-1-1-1 rather than a 2-1-2. So yeah, if you wanted to take a chance on like a Mouse, a Falcons, a Pain, even an Astralis if you wanted to, you can. But I think the safer options are definitely Eternal Fire, FaZe, and Mongols. They have a higher likelihood of going all the way and winning the whole thing. I would say these are the 3 favorites to winning the whole event. Or if they get to the third place decider match, there are the favorites to win that as well. So to finish on a strong positive rating. FaZe are the highest likelihood to win the whole thing and the highest likelihood to even get out of round 1. Mongols, I would say, had the highest likelihood to make the finals. And Eternal Fire, I think also have a high likelihood of either making the finals or winning that third place designer match. So, with that in mind, here's my first team. This team is going with all three of those teams that I mentioned before. We have Kerrigan, Brokey, Jota, Sensu, and Techno. This is a kind of very solid team. I am backing a little bit, putting a little bit more money on Mongols because I do think they get to the grand final, and I think they have a good chance of winning it. Wouldn't say they're favorites, but for sure they have a great chance at doing so. Definitely backing. We have a lot of strong players. I mean, Brokey and Sensu will definitely have to be the carries. Jota and Techno could do okay enough to be worth it. And then Kerrigan just farming that first Saw game. In general, solid matchup, solid lineup, solid matchups as well. And it should be fine. Definitely, I think this is definitely a top 20 team for sure. Doesn't have a lot of upside, but it's not the worst either. But if you want to go a little bit different, maybe you think, you want a little bit more firepower, this is a team I would go with. Again, we still have Kerrigan and Brokey. I think they're the two best FaZe players that you can get. But instead of Sensu, we have Blitz, who's a little bit more consistent. And I think Sensu kind of goes missing a little bit more in arena matches and big events. And bigger, against better opposition. So Blitz could be interesting there. But instead of Jota, we have Jim Hat. I mean, if you believe in Mouse, Jim Hat could do really well in this event. They have an easier matchup than Eternal Fire because they're facing Pain. Eternal Fire is facing Falcons. Jim Hat's usually, I would say Mouse also go missing in arena matches. But Jim Hat kind of excels at these games where there's better opposition. A lot of people like Search and die right away, Brolin as well. And so he has to hold down sides maybe, or he has to clutch around. That's where he can increase his rating in that regard. So I think this lineup has a little bit more upside. However, am I going to go with this lineup? Probably not. I think I'm 30% on this lineup and 70% on this one. I do really like this one. I think this one has better roles. And that makes a lot more sense. And I can back Mongols a little bit more by going with Sensu, and hopefully he is that star player that I know that he can be. But yeah, other than that, please leave your comments down below what you think of my teams. Let me know what your lineups look like. And other than that, good luck, have fun, and see you next time.